Hi everyone, I'm Marbozir and welcome to the return of the Civilization 5 poll. So, I was originally going to play a game as Siam, which is why Bramham Trollface is selected, but I figured we can do a poll. We've not had one of those in a pretty long time, so let's do one right now. I'm going to use 3 different civilizations. The first one is going to be Siam, because that's what I was going to play. The second one will be one of the modded civilizations. I've been checking out some modded civilizations and there are a few that I really like. So we'll pick one of them for our second option. And the third one will be random. So let's talk about the map a bit, because I will be using the same map type for all 3 games. I decided to give Comunitas map a shot. I already used Comunitas map in the past. I didn't like it too much back then, but that was partially because of the settings that I was using. It generated too many resources on standard, so this time we're going to use sparse resource setting. I played around with these options already, and I found ones that I really like. So we're going to pick low sea level, 1 random ocean rift, narrow rift width, and this will generate a map with a lot of land, but not necessarily a single landmass. However, if we get multiple landmasses, they will be very close to each other. We'll still get some seas, enough for some naval warfare, but not enough for naval warfare to dominate the game. So these are the options that we will be using. Alright, so we're going to play on epic game pace, on data difficulty as usual. I might do one game on standard, the third option with random civilization. We've not had a game on standard in a very long time, so I'll include one option on standard. Anyway, standard map size, and I think that's it. We can get started. Alright, let's start game number 1. We'll talk about Siam once the loading screen finishes. Okay, so Siam. Their unique ability gives them 50% more food, culture and faith from friendly city-states. So this can be quite nice, especially if you have a lot of maritime, cultured and religious city-states in the game and can get friendly or allied with them. Their unique unit is a replacement for a knight. It gets more combat strength and it doesn't require horses. It's not the best, but it's also not the worst. It can be quite okay, especially since you can spam a lot without the need for horses, and they do have higher combat strength than the knight, so that's nice. And their unique building is a replacement for a university. This is quite an interesting building actually, because it gives you culture, while normally universities do not have culture, which means you can actually get the what with legalism in tradition, while you can't do that with universities. If you get amphitheaters before you take legalism, you will actually get wards for free from legalism after you research education. So, let's take a look at our starting location. I'm still using an enhanced user interface and info addict. There will be links to both in the description below. I got rid of the unit panel on the left though. I didn't like that part too much. Okay, we can move our warrior a bit to see more of the map. Looks like we could get a coastal capital with a river if we move east, but we would lose 2 turns in order to make that happen. It might be worth doing. So do you want to move here or here? We will reveal a bit of the map. Alright, let's move here. Okay, we didn't really see a whole lot. So this is a pretty tough situation. I would probably consider moving. We could settle a city with an observatory next to a mountain, but we wouldn't have a river if we settle here. I could settle to the east, have a river for my capital, and I could also settle on spot. I could settle on top of the stone, and then we would have both river and the mountain, but no coastal capital. We have quite a few options. We can get a coastal capital with observatory, coastal capital with a river, non-coastal capital with both, or we can settle on spot. These are our options. But anyway, this is game number 1, so I'm going to save this and start my second game. So, see you in a moment. Okay, so our second game will use a modded civilization we're going to play as Cuba. It's one of the modded civilizations that I've been checking out. I quite like them. We'll talk about them in just a moment. I'm still using the semi-exact settings for the map. So, 1 ocean rift, sparse resources, and low sea level. All the advanced settings are on default. All AIs are randomized. So, let's start. Okay, so Cuba is an interesting one. Their unique ability gives them increased combat strength on plantations, which is the least interesting part of the civilization. Adopting a social policy instantly gives them points towards was a replacement for a great general. And adopting the first tenet also gives them 2 of these units. And this is a replacement for a great general, which acts like a normal combat unit. And it counts as the highest infantry unit that you have researched and can produce. So that means they can actually fight like a regular melee infantry unit, but they cannot start citadels. They also put a city in resistance if they are right next to it. So that's kind of interesting. A little bit risky keeping them right next to a city, but that's what they do. And they also get a unique building, which is a replacement for armory. It does not require barracks, and units receive extra 15 experience if Great Work of Music slot is filled. So obviously this building gets 1 slot for Great Work of Music. So let's get started then and check our starting location. This is not the best location that I've ever seen in my life. We have some whales, but that's about it. Wow, okay, this is a little bit barren. We have a canal city. I'm not sure if that's going to be useful or not, because I'm not seeing much of the map. But this is a little bit barren. The only 2 resources that we have are the whales. That's kind of bad. We have a river, so we got that going for us. It doesn't necessarily mean this is a bad start. There might be a lot of resources to the south. I would maybe consider moving 1 tile. We would lose 1 turn before selling our capital, but you would potentially gain some resources. I wouldn't lose anything if I move 1 tile. I would lose a few tiles to the north that have nothing. Anyway, this is game number 2, so I'm going to save this and generate a 3rd game. See you in a moment. Okay, so for our 3rd game, we're going to use a random leader. If I get a civilization that I played very recently, I'll just restart to get a different one. I might use standard game pace for this game. We've not had a game on standard game pace in a very long time, so if you would actually like to see one, this is going to be the one. So standard game pace for this and random leader. The map settings are again the same. 1 random ocean rift, sparse resources. These are the settings that I like the most with Communitas maps so far. And I wanted to play this map, so I'm using it for all 3 games. Alright, let's get started and see which leader we'll get. Okay, I was going to edit this out if we get a leader that we played recently, but this is just too funny. We randomly got Siam, which I already picked for the 1st game. Apparently we're getting trolled, even if we play Bram Control Phase ourselves. So obviously I'm going to reroll this. See you in a moment. Alright, so random leader again. Standard game pace again. Same map settings again. Let's get someone different. Okay, so we got Hiawatha, which is a leader that I didn't play before, so this works. So, his unique ability allows his units to move through forest and jungle tiles in friendly territory as if they were roads. And these tiles, as in forest and jungle, can also be used to establish city connections without the need to build roads on them after researching the wheel. His unique unit is a replacement for a swordsman, gets a combat bonus when fighting on forest and jungle tiles. And his unique building is actually a weird one. A lot of people consider this to be worse than the workshop, and I don't necessarily disagree. It's a little bit situational. It gives you +1 production from each worked forest tile, so it can be okay-ish, or it can be worse than a workshop. But that's it, the longhouse. Let's take a look at our starting location then. What do we have? We have a coastal capital. Let's move a little bit, see what we can find. Alright, we have some silver. I probably wouldn't move. Makes sense to settle on spot. This is not the best start that I've ever seen in my life. We can only see one luxury. We would have decent-ish production. These mountains might be good or bad, depending on our surroundings. Anyway, this is game number 3. I'm going to save this, and you will find the link to the poll in the description below. I will probably leave this video up for maybe a few days before I start the game. So feel free to vote, you don't have to register or anything like that, just click the link and you can vote. I do reserve the right to not take poll results into account if there's some funny business going on with the results. But unless the results get very visibly rigged or something like that, I will play whichever option wins. So that's it. Feel free to vote. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.